Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sheila Casey, Chair of the Board of Directors for Blue Star Families and Chief Operating Officer of The Hill. Over the decades since Blue Star Families' inception, it has been my privilege to serve military families alongside the Blue Star team. This past year has been a trying time for our country and has created unique and challenging circumstances for our military families. I have been so impressed and encouraged by Blue Star Families' ability to rise and meet these challenges in support of all of our servicemen and their families. In that spirit, I'm excited today to help launch the Blue Star Families Racial Equity Initiative, which you will hear about over the next hour. Today is only a beginning. It is our collective obligation to ensure that all families who serve our country in uniform have equity of experiences and equity of opportunities. This is critically important work, as it not only makes our military family stronger, but it also strengthens our military readiness. To begin today's event, we have engaged the voices of an extraordinary group of leaders and trusted advisors to Blue Star Families, men and women who have experienced life in a military family and who have important perspectives to share. They are all members of our Racial Equity Committee, comprised of high-ranking military leaders, wounded warriors, caregivers, and military spouses. Their perspectives, leadership, and guidance are the bedrocks of this initiative. The video that you'll see now shares highlights of those perspectives and provides the foundation for why we are deeply invested in this initiative and the change it seeks to bring. Thank you for watching.
I've always been curious about this sort of silence that's out there amongst military families of the experiences they go through, whether it be in racial inequality or other issues that affect our community at large. I'm really encouraged that Blue Star Families is finally someone stepping forward to take on that challenge.
It just feels to me that this is the right moment where a lot of organizations are doing really important soul searching. That process is not going to be fast, and it really just requires all of us to start having more in-depth conversations.
Where every man and woman sits on the same foreground, where every person has a voice, because we're all common. We have one common objective: to live and survive among each other.
But if you don't feel like you belong, whether it's because, sadly, the color of your skin or your lack of being able to speak the language, or not really feeling like a part of the majority, it could be truly isolating and difficult.
And that's why this work is so important, because it will make us feel included. It will make us feel valued.
Because when you think about it, it is a readiness issue for our service members. I couldn't have been the ready soldier I was for 38 years unless I knew my family was taken care of.
It will also help our children see that our service is valued. After all, this is what we all want. We want the next generation to see the value in our work, appreciate the value, so they follow in our footsteps.
Me as a service member, I was taught to be able to deal with diversity. I was taught to work through problem set, but most cases my family were not taught that. Family members are making tough decisions. They're making decisions to not move with family members. I was just talking to a young lady who's been in the Army 27 years, and she said her husband, she's an African-American senior non-commissioned officer. She said she and her husband have been separated for 8 years. 8 years.
A good friend of mine, one of my very best friends, who's a white man, and I was telling him what I was going through, trying to just find an apartment, and he said, "Oh, that's not true." I said, "Okay, well, watch this." And we went up to a apartment house that had room for rent. I went in with a jacket, a tie, Good haircut? No room. Sorry, that sign is mistaken. I walked out. I said, okay, Billy, you go in there. He came back out with the room.
As a four-star general, when I was probably 3 weeks out from retirement, I stopped by early in the morning, the base gym at Bolling Air Force Base. It was called Bolling then. I pulled into the gym into one of two general officer parking spaces. And as I stepped out of the car in my gym clothes, a gentleman who was sitting in his car in the back row, I'm not sure why he was sitting there, ran up to me and he chewed me up one side and down the other because I would dare park in a general officer's spot. That wasn't the first time this had happened. And so at the end of his little soliloquy, I looked at them in the eye because, again, I've had this happen to me before. And I just said to him, what makes you think I'm not a general officer? And here's the ironic thing about this, is that gentleman who was sitting in his car that charged up to chew me out was African American. We all have been conditioned with these biases that we need to understand and we need to embrace. Because here was an African American who could not see someone who looked like him as a general officer.
So the more we can educate, the more that we can have Black and brown people of color represented, the better. Because I think, the more we see of ourselves in leadership, the more comfort there is and the more you feel like you belong. Because I know for me throughout my career, that's always been the issue, is I never saw people like me.
Especially my family is, my children is, you never waver from your purpose. Diversity and adversity, you're going to experience that in life. And that could be a person, that could be a comment, that could be racism, that could be tension. That's just a distractor. It's not a course director. The things that you're going to experience, you eventually will come around to be able to help educate someone through the same challenges that you just experienced.
So being able to work with an organization like Blue Star Families, I found, I think, is a force multiplier for doing the good work that needs to happen to support all of our military families.
It is an energized, vibrant group of people who I think if you give us a few hours in a room, we can identify really tremendous solutions and recommendations that are going to be really impactful.
Hi, I'm Kathy Roth-Duquet, and I'm CEO of Blue Star Families. I want to thank you all so much for being with us here today. And I want to thank Sheila Casey, our amazing board chair and my incredible battle buddy, for kicking us off. Your partnership and your leadership on this initiative has meant so much to me. I want to pause and say that this REI initiative that we're kicking off right now is something I feel incredibly passionate about. It goes back to the core of why we do Blue Star Families to begin with. I learned when I married my husband that the secret to the Marine Corps, in our case, to all of military service really, is love. We love each other. We love those who serve. We want to take care of them. We want them to thrive. We want them to come home safe and alive. As we love each other, we want the best possible experience. And that speaks to inclusion. It speaks to belonging. It's the heart of what Blue Star Families is. Taking on the issue of the experience of all military families, and now especially the military families of color, is something I am so excited to be doing with such an extraordinary team that you'll be seeing today. You, our participants here, are part of that team. Please type in the chat. Please share your perspective, your experience. We want to engage with you. We want to capture what you're thinking and feeling. So join us today. I am joined now by another wonderful leader in our organization, the Vice Chair of Blue Star Families Board, Lieutenant General retired Gwen Bingham.
Well, thank you so much, Kathy. We truly feel your passion every single day. I am honored to join you today to launch this initiative and to co-chair the committee. I'm so pleased that Blue Star Families is stepping forward today in support of military families of color. Feeling a sense of belonging and finding connection to a community are vitally important to all military families. With frequent moves and many other compounding impacts of serving in uniform, military families often encounter challenges finding roots in a community. These challenges are often much greater for families of color, who may feel even more isolated or disconnected. Without doubt, all military families deserve to feel that they belong, that they are appreciated, and that they are welcome. Today's conversation starts by acknowledging that many military families of color do not feel that way. Today is about declaring that we can do better and that we are committing to creating positive change. I am profoundly grateful to you, Kathy, for your amazing leadership and vision, to the Blue Star Families team, and to the many partners who have stepped forward to help create this change together.
Thank you, Gwen. I agree with you. These partners that we have are making all the difference in the world. To speak to us about the mission of the military and how it intersects with the Racial Equity Initiative, I'd like to welcome a leader and a friend, Brigadier General Lorna Malak. General Malak?
Thank you, Blue Star Families, for the work you continue to do on behalf of our military families. Your work provides another lens with which to understand the operational readiness of our warfighting formations, of which our military families play a crucial role. You help us see the challenges and opportunities of our families from a different perspective to make us better, which serves to illustrate the value of diverse perspectives. The Marine Corps is a warfighting organization, and our nation expects us to fight and win. We know the current and future fight is complex and global in nature. Our advantage will not be in our weapon systems, but our people. We understand that we will need to outthink and outfight the enemy, to use the words of our Commandant of the Marine Corps, and the operational imperative is to have a force who can provide unique solutions at pace and scale to any quandary the threat poses. Our asymmetric advantage lies in our ability to leverage diverse perspectives. For us, it's about building the best team to fight and win in any environment.
General Malak, thank you so much for your time. Now, I'd like to turn to the Committee of Extraordinary Leaders, the Racial Equity Committee, who has helped us to inform our strategies, our programs, and the outcomes we hope to achieve during the course of our initiative. More will follow later in 2021. First, we launched an incredible Racial Equity Committee full of leaders, many of whom you'll hear from today, who since the summer have helped us chart the course for this initiative and who will stay with us, helping to shape as we move forward. Secondly, we are building on old research and will be launching new original research to better understand the experiences of military families of color. We've looked at prior years of Blue Star Families research by race, and we'll be convening focus groups. Third, we are launching a new leadership program to develop cohorts of racially diverse leaders who will help lead efforts to improve service experience of military families of color and increase the representation in the MSO and VSO space. These fellows will immediately provide leadership at the local and national level so that military families of color can see themselves in the support organizations that seek to serve them.
Kathy, the steps we're taking today will provide such an important foundation for this work. You'll hear more of the details about these actions later in today's program. And now I'd like to welcome General Larry Spencer to join us. General Spencer spent more than 40 years in the U.S. Air Force, serving as the Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force in his final role in the military. Following his retirement, General Spencer was the president of the Air Force Association. General Spencer, thank you so much for being with us today. Over to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for that really warm welcome. I really appreciate it. And I'm really happy to be here today. When Kathy told me about this initiative, I was really excited and I wanted to be a part of it for really two reasons. And let me tell you about those briefly. The first one is when I was a young lieutenant, I was stationed in a base in the South, and my kids were younger, and they went off to school and came home one day and were really upset because someone had called them an inappropriate name. It was a word that we didn't use around my house, and they were really upset by it. And so we had to work through that and discuss it, and I had to help them understand what the word meant and why it was such a derogatory term. But what occurred to me at the time was, boy, I wonder if folks writ large, I wonder if folks around the nation, I wonder if our fellow Americans really understand what military families have to deal with, that things that happen around the country, the things that happen in the news, things that happen around social justice, how do they affect military families? And I always wondered about that. The other reason is when I was born and raised here in the DC area, and in 1963 I was a young kid, and my school dragged us off one day down to the mall in DC to attend the March on Washington, where Martin Luther King spoke. Now, as a young kid, I didn't know who Martin Luther King was. I didn't know much about the event itself, other than it was really, really hot, and there were a lot of people there. And so after the events were over, we went back, and I remember asking my teacher, what was that about? And I'll never forget what she told me. She said, that was an example of our country on a journey towards a more perfect union, that as a country, we are the greatest country on earth, but we're not perfect. And so we have to continue to reach and strive toward perfection. And that was an example of what I had seen. And so when I see things today, like the George Floyd killing, the protests that followed, a lot of social justice movements today, that registers to me that we continue to be on our journey towards a more perfect union. But it also brings back that story I just earlier of my kids, and that I always wonder, how are military families reacting to this? What are they going through? What do they make of all of this? They watch the same news as everyone else. They are not immune to these social justice issues that come up. And so the fact that Blue Star Families is going to reach down into the military communities and get their thoughts and their ideas about how this all affects them, I think it's going to really be great. And so I really am excited that Kathy and Blue Star Families are reaching out to military families to get a sense for what their priorities are, what are their concerns, how can we best help them? How can our leaders, our elected leaders, help them? What do they need in our budget? What is it about military families? What do they experience, and how can we as Americans help them? So I'm really excited about this initiative. One of the things I was fond of saying when I was in the Air Force is that every airman, soldier, sailor, and Marine has a story. Everyone has a story. And this initiative is an opportunity for you to hear about some of the stories of our military families. So I'm really excited about it. We recognize that for us to have a broad and deep understanding that these stories really need to be told, particularly of families of color, stories that you may not have heard before. And so by gathering these insights through this research and data, I think this is really going to help the military overall, and frankly, our country overall move forward. So I'd like to invite my friend, Harriet Dominique, who is the Senior Vice President, Chief Diversity, Inclusion, and Corporate Responsibility Officer for USAA, to help lead us in this conversation. Harriet and the team at USAA have supported Blue Star Families as the title sponsor of the annual Military Family Lifestyle Survey since its inception. This support has enabled Blue Star Families to conduct the most comprehensive survey of the military community and to use the resulting qualified data to inform and recommend real change for military families. USAA has once again stepped up, this time as the lead sponsor of the Racial Equity Initiative. Harriet and her team are a big part of what makes this entire initiative possible, and we are so grateful to them. Harriet, please join us.
Thank you, General Spencer. As you mentioned, USAA invested early in the annual Military Family Lifestyle Survey. We did that because we saw and understood the importance of gaining timely and relevant insights into the array of challenges military families are facing. Our goal in working with Blue Star Families on that effort is to bring together leaders across industries so that we might have meaningful conversations to help address the challenges highlighted by the survey results and inform programs and cross-sector collaboration that would help bolster military family resilience. While military families of color face many of the same challenges as their non-minority counterparts, they also endure unique stressors. Comparable to the annual survey, USAA understands the importance of identifying those unique challenges so that we might address them and ensure that families of color have the resources and support structure that they need to thrive.
Thank you, Harriet. I'm Jessica Strong. I'm the co-director of applied research here at Blue Star Families. USAA is such a valuable and collaborative partner on our annual survey, and we are so excited to be working with you on this new initiative. One of the things that I love the most about our Blue Star Families Military Family Lifestyle Survey is the ability to dig into the existing data and to ask and answer new questions that pop up. When we begin to explore some of these issues, our first step is going back to look at the data we've collected over the years, over the most recent years of the MFLS, to explore. Our initial explorations in both the literature and in our own data show us that there is a lot of work that remains to be done on this issue. It's important to note that military family lifestyle issues aren't solely linked to race and ethnicity, and they're indelibly tied to gender and rank and family status and biracial or multiracial identity and many, many other characteristics which we aren't fully able to account for in the data that we have. What remains, though, are the initial impressions that we've developed that can guide our future research. So here are some of those initial impressions. First, we explored the top concerns for Black and Hispanic or Latinx military families, which are, as you may expect, substantially similar to the top concerns for all military family respondents in our MFLS. So before COVID-19, 7 in 10 Black and Hispanic Latinx military families experienced stress due to their current financial situation. Similarly, spouse under and unemployment was a top contributor to that financial stress. Spouse employment remains a top issue for Black, Hispanic, Latinx, and Asian military families in our pre-COVID MFLS information. Now, what we've learned from our COVID-19 research is that it may have intensified those financial concerns for military families, but especially for our military families of color. In our Resilience Under Stress study, which was conducted in May and June 2020, a greater percentage of Black and Hispanic active duty family respondents reported major or severe COVID-19 impacts to their employment situation or to their financial situation. Furthermore, military families of color, particularly Black families, may not receive information or effective communication regarding the resources that are available to them. Black families reported more difficulty staying informed and significantly less ability to easily find information about local resources. Finally, in our Pain Points poll, which was a survey conducted through our COVID-19 Military Support Initiative, we looked at perceived unmet needs in the community. And here again, we find that financial assistance and communication about resources ranked in the top of unmet community needs for Black families. This data and the results of the additional research that we plan to conduct will sit on the Racial Equity Initiative section of our website if you choose to review it there. Though these findings give us a starting place and some direction of where to go, there remains a lot of work to be done to understand these critical issues. This is why the Racial Equity Initiative, including this ongoing research, is so important, and I'm thrilled to be participating in this work.
Thank you, Jess, for reviewing that important data. As we all know, it is the data and numbers that should inform policy and important initiatives like this. It is how we are able to capture the voices of military families and use the knowledge gained to push for necessary change. Now, I'd like to introduce Staff Sergeant Retired Charles Eggleston. Charles serves on the Board of Directors for Blue Star Families, is the President and CEO of 37 Consulting, and is a member of the Racial Equity Committee. Charles served in the Army for 16 years, is a wounded warrior, and a Purple Heart and Bronze Star recipient. Since leaving the military, Charles has continued to advocate for his fellow wounded servicemen and women. Charles, thank you so much for your service and for joining us today.
Thank you, Harriet, and good afternoon, everyone. It has been my honor and pleasure to serve on the board of directors for Blue Star Families since it was founded over 10 years ago. The work that this organization does in support of our military community is important and impactful. In addition, all the work with our military families across the globe, I have appreciated being able to guide the efforts to support our wounded warriors. When I learned that Kathy and the team wanted to build an initiative to address the unique challenges facing our military families of color, I immediately volunteered to help. I'm thrilled to be here with you today for its launch. It's my privilege to introduce Dr. Ingrid Herrera-Yee, who will share some exciting news about new deployed fellowship program. Dr. Herrera-Yee is a Blue Star Family Advisory Board member. She is also a clinical psychologist specializing in trauma care, treating military families. As a military spouse and the founder of Military Spouse Behavioral Health Clinicians, Dr. Herrera-Yee is very much aware of the unique challenges the military community faces every day. Thank you for joining us today, Ingrid.
Thank you, Charles. I'm so excited to be here today to introduce an important new program emerging out of the Racial Equity Initiative. The recent and intense period of racial reckoning in 2020 has opened many eyes to the systemic racism long present in the United States. Moreover, it has opened many eyes to the reality that the military community is not immune to the injustices and injuries of this systemic racism. As you've heard, military families of color are more likely to experience financial distress and are less likely to hear about support and resources. And importantly, the leadership teams of the organizations who serve them, MSOs and VSOs, are disproportionately white. As an initial step in combating these inequities, Blue Star Families is launching the Deploy Military Community Fellowship Program. This program seeks to train a new cohort of racially diverse leaders for MSOs and VSOs. These leaders will serve for 1 year in chapter-based or national roles at Blue Star Families, while they receive training in MSO-VSO leadership curated by several of our key partners. They'll focus their fellowship work on improving the experiences and increasing the representation of military families of color in community settings across the country, and will graduate the program to continue that work in positions of leadership within the MSO-VSO space. We're very excited about the potential impact of this program. We're excited to assemble the first cohort of fellows by April 2021. Now, the Deploy Fellowship Program and the Racial Equity Initiative more broadly rely upon the support and participation of important funding and operating partners. I'd like to invite our friend, Rear Admiral Retired Sinclair Harris, to help me introduce our next segment, which will feature some of these partners. Admiral Harris spent 34 years in the Navy, finishing his career as the Vice Director for Operations to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. In retirement, Admiral Harris now heads the National Naval Officers Association. Admiral Harris, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Ingrid, and thank all of you for participating today. The Navy means a lot to me, and I've devoted much of my time to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion within the Navy, the Sea Services, and also within the military community as a whole. Increasing the representation of communities that are historically underrepresented is critically important. This must happen in all services, in all branches, at all ranks, and at all bases and installations. It must also happen within the community of organizations who support the military, the thousands of MSOs and VSOs and civilian partners. Next up, we will hear the perspectives of leaders from several of our important partner organizations that are engaged in supporting this racial equity initiative. Before we move on to a robust roundtable conversation, I'd like to share a short video from Craig Newmark, founder of Craigslist and Craig Newmark Philanthropies. Craig has been a longtime supporter of military families and is also a key supporter of the Racial Equity Initiative. Craig, let me pass it over to you.
Hey, I'm Craig Newmark, the guy who started Craigslist. That may be how you know me. It's really important to me to realize how much the entire military community has supported me as an American. So in return, I follow through and support the military community, veterans, active service members, and their families. A lot of that support is through Blue Star Families and some other related organizations. I'm proud now to be supporting a Deploy Fellow for the New York region to help make sure that diverse military families feel welcome and supported when their duty calls them here.
Thank you, Craig, for your support and leadership. We are honored to have you with us. And now, let me introduce Blue Star Family board member, military spouse, and anchor of CNN Right Now, Brianna Keilar, to lead a roundtable discussion with some of our key partners. Brianna, over to you.
Admiral Harris, thank you so much for that. Blue Star Families is very near and dear to my heart as a military spouse and as a board member for Blue Star Families. I'm certainly honored to be here with all of you today supporting this really important effort, this very important work that is striving towards racial equity. I've spoken with a lot of military spouses, and there is such a desire for this. So I think this is something that is going to be met with a lot of demand based on what I'm hearing from military spouses. And I know that for me personally, this is something that impacts my family. I have married into a very proud Mexican-American military family, and we have 2 sons who, if they follow in family tradition, will certainly consider military service as a path for them. And so these are issues that really affect my family personally. And I'm just thrilled that you're all here to be a part of this. We have a terrific roundtable of leaders today. And over the next few minutes, we're going to be hearing from these folks here, 8 of the initial partner organizations for the Racial Equity Initiative, each of whom will share their reasons for being involved and the exciting commitments that they are each making to support the Racial Equity Initiative. So let me just go around this sort of Brady Bunch scene that we have here and introduce everyone that we have with us. We have Kobe Langley, who is Senior Vice President, Service to the Armed Forces of the American Red Cross. We have Dr. Meg Harrell, who is Chief Program Officer of the Bob Woodruff Foundation. We have Stephanie Noel, Vice President, Human Resources and Chief Diversity Officer for CSX. And we have Matt Amidon, who is Director of the Military Service Initiative at the George W. Bush Institute. We're also joined by Dr. Michael Haney, the Vice Chancellor of Strategic Initiatives and Innovation at Syracuse University and the Executive Director of the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. And next we have Megan Campion, Director, Social Impact for Lockheed Martin, and Megan Everett, Veterans Program Director at the Robert R. McCormick Foundation. We also have Matt Kress, who is Senior Manager of Veteran and Military Affairs with Starbucks. And Kobe, not just because you may have the best background here, but I want to start with you. Tell us a little bit about why it is important for the American Red Cross to be involved in this initiative.
Brianna, first, thanks for having us. This is a really important initiative. The Racial and Equity Initiative, first and foremost, is a community effort. It's a call to action by Blue Star Families, but each of us comes from different backgrounds and experiences and organizations. The American Red Cross has been serving our military since the Civil War and Antietam. But one thing we all have in common is that we have a commitment to work together. And it may seem like a small thing, but it really isn't. When I served as a senior advisor to President Obama for constituency outreach in this space, I saw the thousands of organizations that were fighting for his time, that were telling us that they served in the veteran military family community. What we didn't see a lot of was collaboration and coordination in those efforts. This effort to ensure that there's more equity and inclusion and engagement of communities of color in the veteran military family space is going to require that. So that's why the American Red Cross is joining us, this initiative. It's a reason why we're participating is to ensure that we're leveraging our global commitment to veteran and military families to support them no matter where they are and no matter who they are. So we're committed to the amplification, the communications and messaging and thought leaderships that represent the REI. And given the global footprint that we have, we're also engaged in ensuring that our volunteers and staff that work on hundreds of military installations also understand and reflect the importance of diversity and inclusion. So today, we're making a commitment to ensure that this charge that we've had since 1905, that we're going to continue to be active participants and collaborators in supporting this work along with our partners to make sure that we're providing potential opportunities to our deploy fellows after this one-year fellowship.
That's so wonderful, Kobe. We can really see the reach that you are going to have. And I want to ask Dr. Harrell, who is with the Bob Woodruff Foundation, about why it's so important to be a part of this initiative.
Thank you so much. So I'm Dr. Meg Harrell, the Chief Program Officer at the Bob Woodruff Foundation, and we're pleased and so proud to collaborate with Blue Star Families to support their racial equity initiative. At the foundation, we find, fund, and shape best-in-class organizations to serve the military veteran community. And one of the best ways to improve the quality of an organization to ensure that they're best in class is to increase their diversity. So we plan to amplify the program through our social media and across our national network of over 480 community and organizational partnerships, which spans the entire country. And our intent will be both to celebrate the fellowships during the year and also to increase the awareness and opportunities for the fellows upon graduation. And finally, because of our mission to find, fund, and shape, we've offered to share our expertise with the incoming fellows and provide webinar training so that they can understand from a funder's due diligence perspective, and with the Bob Woodruff Foundation emphasis on outcomes as the return on investment, what best in class looks like and improve their outcomes as well.
Dr. Harrell, thank you so much. And I want to talk with Stephanie Noel now, who again is the Vice President of Human Resources and is the Chief Diversity Officer for CSX. If you can tell us a little bit about CSX's involvement in the initiative, Stephanie.
Thank you, I'd be happy to. In 2018, CSX launched its Pride in Service initiative. This is our company-wide effort to honor and serve those who serve our country and our communities. We're talking about, of course, our veterans, our military servicemen and women, and our first responders. And in the last 2 years, we've worked with 5 of our nonprofit partners, including Blue Star Families, to make sure that we are connecting them to the resources that they need when they need it and where they need it. And Blue Star Families has been an incredible partner with us. We are so proud to have been able to work with them on other initiatives and having impact in the communities in which we live and work. And that's why we are especially excited about this year. In addition to our current programming, we are making a $125,000 commitment to Blue Star Families Racial Equity Initiative, specifically around research, advocacy, data collection, and for the launch event itself. We are so excited to be doing this. We think this work parallels with our steadfast commitment at CSX, of course, to encourage and foster a diverse and inclusive culture internally, as well as in the communities in which we live and work. And what we're hoping is that through our support and our commitment of Blue Star Families in this racial equity initiative, we're hoping that we all learn about the issues and the impact on veterans and military families and communities of color. We're hoping to understand the issues that impact them, what they're facing, and that we can all adapt our responses as well as our policies so that we can better serve them. So we're very excited to be supporting this initiative.
Well, that's very exciting, Stephanie. And certainly, you know, Blue Star Families is all about the research. I know as a journalist, it's been essential to my reporting. And so there's a lot of questions here that certainly CSX and all of you here are going to be integral in answering. I want to ask Matt Amidon a little bit about what the George W. Bush Institute is going to be doing as part of this initiative. Obviously, Matt, the Institute has been so involved with veterans. I imagine this was sort of a natural place to plug in.
Oh, absolutely, and thank you so much. Hello to everyone from Dallas, all of our partners here today. First of all, thank you to Blue Star Families for undertaking what we think is this critical mission to position and inspire your Deploy Fellows to be the leaders our nation will always lead. We all know that diverse teams perform better, are more thoughtful and innovative, and in the end, best represent the rich landscape of our nation. So the Blue Star Family Racial Equity Initiative is not just the right thing to do, but we feel it's the smart thing to do. And as you mentioned, we at the George W. Bush Institute's Military Service Initiative see a great and promising future of interaction with the Deploy Fellows and our own Stand To Veteran Leadership Program through professional development and mentorship opportunities. With the Veteran Leadership Program, we strive to welcome a diverse group of rising leaders from a wide range of sectors who are working to improve outcomes for veterans and military families. And this all nests within the Military Service Initiative goal of ensuring successful transitions from military to civilian life for our veterans and their families, with a focus on optimizing health and well-being and leveraging meaningful pathways to economic opportunity. As no one entity can do it alone, we are excited to support the efforts, and we look forward to the impact you all will have. Thank you.
Matt, thank you so much. Dr. Haney, if you could just share a little bit with us. And again, you're the Vice Chancellor of Strategic Initiatives and Innovation at Syracuse University, and also the Executive Director of the Institute for Veterans and Military Families. So I'm sure that you have heard a lot about these concerns that this initiative is going to be addressing.
Sure, and thank you, Brianna. The Institute for Veterans and Military Families was founded with the express purpose to study and to act on the post-service lives of veterans and their families. Accordingly, the work we do is necessarily grounded in several important assumptions, one of which concerns the notion of citizenship. And the ideal of citizenship is premised on individual equality. That is the assumption that each of us has an equal opportunity to access the benefits and the opportunities of a free society. But when that assumption is compromised, when we tolerate or perpetuate social or economic systems that marginalize some for the benefits of others, the very assumption of equality that grounds and motivates the work that all the organizations represented here perform and value on behalf of veterans and their families is fatally compromised. And that's why situating an initiative like this one within the military connected community is so critically important and right. My personal thanks to Kathy and the Blue Star Families for recognizing and acting on this opportunity. As to the IVMF, we've already taken purposeful steps to leverage our research infrastructure to better understand and inform the differential impacts of status quo social and economic systems on veterans, families, given racial and ethnic identity. Our objective, however, is to move beyond research so as to impact these inequalities through informed, tailored programs, advocacy, interventions, and services. We're excited to serve as a research and data partner to the REI. We're excited to help inform a clear and unbiased narrative representative of the lived military service experiences and also the pro-service experiences of veterans and military families of color. Further, we're committed to leveraging our reach into and across the veterans community and also our partner networks to connect those connected to us with the REI and engage them in this effort. I'm convinced that if we all work together to ensure that veterans and military connected families of color have an equal opportunity to access the benefits and advantages of our free society, we will set the conditions for our community to effectively serve the cause of pushing back against inequality and injustice wherever it exists and on behalf of all Americans. So for me, that's why this work is so important and why I'm very thankful for the opportunity to contribute. Thanks.
It's so important to put that information into practice. So I'm really glad that you touched on that, Dr. Haney. Megan Campion, you are Social Impact Director for Lockheed Martin. So tell us a little bit about how Lockheed is fitting into this.
Thank you, Brianna. Lockheed Martin is proud to support and stand alongside Blue Star Families' new racial equity initiative. We are committed to the well-being of our military community and believe it is important that we do our part to shine a spotlight on these issues. Lockheed Martin's donation specifically supports the Deploy Military Community Fellowship Program in the DC metro area. We are excited to meet the fellow and offer additional mentorship opportunities with Lockheed Martin leaders. We believe this innovative fellowship program is a tangible way for us to partner and address the underrepresentation of communities of color, particularly in the military and veteran nonprofit community. Lockheed Martin is honored to partner with Blue Star Families and our colleagues on the line here. This is a real step forward in making sure that the military support ecosystem is more reflective of the great diversity of our U.S. military.
So well put. Megan Campion, thank you so much. And Megan Everett, if you would tell us a little bit about what the Robert R. McCormick Foundation and how they're going to fit into this initiative. You are the Veterans Program Director there.
Hi, thank you, Brianna. We are very, very proud to partner with Blue Star Families and be amongst so many different organizations across the country and military leaders. This is a great group to be a part of. I am Megan, another Megan. I'm the director of the Veterans Program at the Robert R. McCormick Foundation. We're based in Chicago. The Veterans Program strives to make Illinois the best place for veterans and their families. As the director of the Veterans Program, the daughter of an Air Force veteran, living about probably 10 different Air Force bases growing up, and a Navy veteran myself, we are thrilled to support, deploy, and partner with Blue Star Families on this initiative. At the Robert R. McCormick Foundation, diversity, equity, and inclusion is one of our core values. We seek communities in which all individuals have equitable access to the resources, opportunities, and power they need to flourish, and where race and ethnicity are not predictive of life outcomes. And as we all know, this also is affecting the military connected community. So we are extremely proud to commit to the Racial Equity Initiative by sponsoring a Deploy Fellow in the city of Chicago. And like Megan Campion in DC, we are excited to be able to partner with that person here on the ground, bring them into the Chicago veteran community, and learn from all the fellows that are going to be part of this first cohort.
That is so wonderful, Megan. We can't wait to see how it works out as a part of this very important initiative. And last but not least, we have Matt Kress, who is the Senior Manager of Veteran and Military Affairs for Starbucks. Matt, take it away.
Hey, thank you, Brianna. One of the foundations of Starbucks has been to provide a third place in communities across the country. Similarly, in our longstanding partnership with Blue Star Families, we have created a sense of community and home for military families together. As part of our Mental Health Matters initiative, we've done a deep dive into mental health benefits for our 300,000 plus partners, which is how we refer to our employees. One of the things that we learned was that our resources were not as culturally relevant to communities of color. When Blue Star Families asked Starbucks to be part of the Deploy Fellowship to research mental health for military families and the sense of community or lack of community that families of color have, it was an easy choice for Starbucks to be part of this.
Matt, thank you so much. It is so wonderful to hear from all of you. I get very excited just seeing the force multiplier that is the faces and the organizations behind the faces here. So thank you so much. Thank you to the McCormick Foundation, to Lockheed Martin, CSX, Starbucks, the American Red Cross, the Bob Woodruff Foundation, the George W. Bush Institute, and the Institute for Veterans and Military Affairs at Syracuse University for being with us today. This is such an important investment that you're all making, and such a wealth of knowledge that you're all bringing. So we have a great team of leaders in the MSO VSO community. We're so grateful to each of you for stepping up to be among the first to support this initiative. These are, as we hear them in practice, terrific commitments. And on commitments like these, Blue Star Families will be able to build on and grow this new initiative as we embark on this new year, this key new year. Kathy and General Bingham, thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of today's event. This is a very exciting thing that Blue Star Families is doing, and I want to pass things back to you to close out the event.
Thank you, Brianna. We're so grateful for your continued service to Blue Star Families and military families. And thank you to each of our partners and their important contributions to this effort. Our hope is that as you have listened today, whether you're an individual or an organization, you've thought of ways that you can be part of this initiative and that we can partner together. As of today, we're asking people to indicate their interest in becoming a Deploy Fellow. If you or someone you know would be interested, come to our website, bluestarfam.org. If you represent an organization that would like to partner with us on an aspect of the REI initiative, whether that's as a research partner, as part of the leadership training, or in our collaborative efforts, reach out and please let us know. Finally, these programs rely on funding partners, such as many you've met today. If you are interested as an individual, a foundation, or a corporation in seeing how you can contribute to this effort, please reach out to Ross Cohen at Blue Star Families. We'll be sending those contact points in the after action. The impact of this initiative is strengthened by all of these contributions, and we invite all of you to join this effort.
That's absolutely right, Kathy. We need a big tent for this initiative. We hope that today has inspired each of you to get involved. Funders, partners, future Deploy Fellows, and military families, we absolutely need your participation. Over the coming weeks and months, you will have opportunities to share your own stories with us, to take surveys that will help inform our research effort, and to make your voice and your opinions heard. Thank you for all of these very important contributions.
Please come to Blue Star Families website to learn more about the Racial Equity Initiative, to learn about Blue Star Families overall, to see the many positions for which we're hiring right now, and to see how you can get involved. Please check there for updates as we head into the new year. We will continue to evolve what we seek to achieve with this operation. We have links that we'll be sending to you after this event that will help you reconnect with us in the future. Thank you once again, Gwen, for joining me here today and for being my partner in this initiative. For all of you who are watching, we hope to welcome you into this effort. We look forward to connecting with each of you soon. Thank you.